Hey folks, welcome back to the Wikipedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again, we will be continuing with the appointment and remuneration of managerial personnel. Right? So in the previous lecture, we have discussed the Schedule 5. Right? To be very specific, we discussed the Part 2 of Schedule 5, but the Part 2 is not yet over. Right? So that was just the beginning. There we discussed about the remuneration. In the case of company not having any profit and still there is a situation where they can get ahead with the remuneration as per the decided limits without taking approval from the central government, right? And those limits could be a part of the effective share capital on one end where we saw the tables, and on the other hand the remuneration could also be based on the current relevant profit, right? And we understood what an effective capital is, and we are yet to understand what is the current relevant profit, because we will understand that in section 198, right? Now, the entire thing that we went through as per the what should be the amount of remuneration, right, that will be given to the managerial personnel only when certain conditions are satisfied, right? And yeah, we know that we have already seen certain condition that it should be from the effective capital, there should be no profit, right? But CG's approval is also not required. So do you think you'll just take a decision, okay, let's not take approval from CG, let's give it this way? No. Even for that, there has to be certain conditions that has to be satisfied, right? So today in the lecture, we will understand what those conditions are. So conditions for payment of remuneration, right? As per section 2 of part 2 of schedule 5. So when we understand the conditions, the first is the board approval. The payment of the remuneration that you are deciding to give to a managerial personnel would be approved by a resolution passed in the board meeting, right? And in any case, if the company is covered under section 178, right, we have already discussed it in the previous chapter, that section 178 is about the nomination and remuneration committee, right, that decides what is the role of nomination remuneration committee, when are they established, and all those things. So if your company falls under section 178, right, then you will have appointed a nomination and remuneration committee. So that nomination and remuneration committee will actually approve, right? So they'll approve and then they'll decide that this should be the remuneration, they'll forward it to the board, and then board will forward it further, right? Further to whom? Obviously, if the board is forwarding something, the board will forward it first to the general meeting, right? To the members. So before that, you need to check that the company has not made any default in the repayment of any of its debt. And when we talk about any of its debt, we include all the public deposits as well. Or if there is any debenture, or if there is any interest payable thereon. So there should not be a default, means it's not that you should not have defaulted. Maybe there's some up and down and you missed some payment or something. That is possible. But none of your default should continue for more than 30 days, right? And that too in the preceding financial year before the date of appointment of such managerial person, right? It talks about preceding financial year. So if, for example, like the same example I took, if I want to appoint the managerial personnel in September, then the preceding financial year would be April to March. If it's September 2017, it will be April 2016 to March 2017, right? So during that period, there should not be any of such default in the repayment of any of its debt, right? This condition also has to be satisfied. Now, if both of these are satisfied, you forward it to the members in the general meeting, and the members, they will have to pass a special resolution authorizing the same. And that special resolution, if you remember, can also double the limit, right? So a special resolution has to be passed at the general meeting of the company for payment of remuneration for a period not exceeding 3 years. So this remuneration that you decide, right, will be given only till the period of 3 years, nothing more than that, right? Then further, a statement has to be attached when you are calling a general meeting, right? So along with that, what will you do is you will send a notice for that meeting. Now, when you are sending a notice for that general meeting, when you're sending a notice to call a general meeting, you will attach a statement and give it to the shareholders. And what will that statement contain basically? That statement will contain some general information about what are you trying to do, who is the person, what is the remuneration, some information about the appointee who's supposed to be appointed, what has been the background, where has he worked, why do we take him in and stuff. Some other information as may be stated, and the disclosures that you want to give, right? So if you want to make the payment that we have decided in section 2, right, these are the conditions that you will have to get an approval from the audit committee, sorry, not the audit committee, from the nomination and remuneration committee, and then the board, right? Then you check that there should not be any default in the repayment of any loan or debt, and then you pass a special resolution, and hence this remuneration can be fixed for only maximum period of 3 years, right? And for that meeting also you'll have to attach a special statement when you're sending the notice for calling the general meeting, right? So these are the only conditions required. Next, remuneration in case of no or inadequate profit without CG approval in special circumstances. So those circumstances we have already seen, like the general circumstance that there is no profit and you don't want to take CG approval, then these are the things that are defined, right? But now you want to give remuneration, and now we are talking about some special circumstances. What do we do in certain special circumstances? So in these special circumstances, right, we give them a remuneration without central government approval in excess of the amount that we have decided, right? Because what we dealt with in section 2 was in general for everybody. No profit, no approval, this is the limit. If you fall in any of these category as per the effective capital slab, please, this is your limit, right? And then we also saw that the limit can be doubled by passing a special resolution. Now understand, you don't want to double the limit only. Maybe you want to go beyond that, or you want to increase. What do? And you still don't want to take CG approval. So that is not very much possible in every situation, but there are special circumstances and special cases where you can still fight beyond the limit to pay remuneration to the managerial personnel and without CG's approval, right? So we'll see those cases. So the first case is where some other company is involved, right? So when we look at the conditions for this, right, then the remuneration in excess of the limit that we have already specified in section 1 and section 2, right, is paid by any company other than the company in which the person is employed as managerial personnel. Then it is okay, right? So this is my company A Limited, where I want to appoint Mr. A as a managerial personnel, right? And I fall under a slab, maybe into a larger slab, somewhere close to 100 crores to 250 crores, right? So the maximum that I can give away per annum to each of the managerial personnel is 60 lakh rupees, right? But now somehow I want to give them 90 lakhs, right? Or it's not me who wants to give, it's actually Mr. A who wants 90 lakhs. See, that 60 lakh is too less for me. I'll not work with that because in my previous organization I was already earning 80 lakhs. What do? You say, okay, see, our limit is 60 lakhs, right? So we cannot give you more than 60. But do one thing, in the meantime, you take it from some other company. Work over there, right? So if that person is working in some other company and that company gives them somewhere beyond 60 lakhs also, we have no problem with that. So it's not a restriction on the managerial personnel. Basically, it is a restriction on the company. So the company cannot pay. That person can earn, right? Right. So it is not that he's only going and he's appointed somewhere else, but if any other company is paying you, you are the managerial person of my company, but some other person is paying you the amount. It's okay with me, right? Then the other company that is paying should either be a foreign company or has got approval of its shareholder in the general meeting to make such a payment, right? So the scenario over here is a little different now. What they say is, okay, you don't go for appointment also. That was one scene, right? You are already appointed, you can be present at two places. That is one thing. But now what happened is I am company A. I have some other companies also, right? Associated or somewhere. I know some people who have some companies. Now if you want to come in as managerial person, you want 90 lakhs. I am allowed without CG's approval and as per my limits to pay 60 lakhs to the maximum, right? What I do is I make an arrangement with some other company. Okay, let's do one thing. Why don't you pay him the money? So some other company pays you the money. That money does not go from company A's account. It is coming from somewhere else. So it is allowed. It is being given to him for this position to managing my company, but that is being given by somebody else. It's allowed, right? But that somebody else should either be a foreign company, and if they are not a foreign company, then their shareholders should approve that why are they paying to this person, right? So in the general meeting, they have to get it approved from the shareholders that that company will pay my maybe MD or a manager certain amount which is beyond the limit, right? And that other company shall also treat such amount as managerial remuneration for the purpose of section 197. Section 197 we haven't yet touched. It will be just coming up in the next lecture. So that other company will consider it to be a managerial remuneration as per 197. Even that is a condition, right? And then you also have to see what is the total managerial remuneration. The total managerial remuneration payable by such other company to the managerial person, including such amount, is within permissible limit under section 197, right? So they are paying something, I'm paying something, total amount should not exceed whatever amount is mentioned in 197. I'm not touching 197 right now because that will be a little confusing. We are still talking about the payment made under schedule 5. Section 197 will be taken up afresh in the next lecture. So where some other company is involved. Next, if it's a newly incorporated company, then the remuneration is paid for a period of 7 years from the date of incorporation of the company, right? So if there's a new company, then we don't matter all these things, right? That okay, this has to be there because understand why are those limits given? The company has been operating, the company may be operating good, maybe operating bad. So they don't want any burden on any company and all those things, right? But if it's a new company just started, they say, okay, for 7 years, let's give you a freedom. So if you're newly incorporated, for 7 years, you can give whatever remuneration you want. Else, if the company is a sick company and a scheme of revival or rehabilitation has been ordered by the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction or the National Company Law Tribunal for such company, right? Like if I take an example for that, there are a lot of government companies also which are sick and a lot of other companies also which are sick. Sick means they are operating, but they're not operating in profit, right? So for sick companies, as you have already seen in our law and our taxes, we have a lot of relaxations. So over here also, if there's a sick company and you want the sick company to be revived, you will need someone very smart, right? And that someone will not work so cheap because that person is coming to revive a sick company. Come on, it's not a day-to-day task that he's doing. That person will charge a little more, right? Logically. So the government also says, the law also says that if it's a sick company and the scheme of revival or rehabilitation has already been ordered, right? And who orders that? It is ordered by the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction or National Company Law Tribunal, right? All these two departments, if they approve, it's okay. And then the remuneration is up to twice the amount possible under section 2. When we say twice the amount possible, means if it's 60 lakhs, what is possible is 120 lakhs. Why? Because if SR is passed, it becomes 120. Now we talk about twice again, right? So this has to be kept in mind. Then the remuneration is paid for a period of 5 years from the date of sanction of the scheme of revival. So the scheme of revival was sanctioned, for example, 3 years back, and today you decide what is the managerial remuneration, then you can pay that remuneration for the next 2 years only. Because it is not from the date from when you start paying, it is on the date of that order for revival, that scheme of revival. The last thing we have is the remuneration is fixed by the board of IFR and NCLT. And IFR and NCLT are the same thing that we have just discussed. Right? So you mean the managerial person's remuneration, it exceeds the limit, but whatever is the remuneration, right, that has been fixed by the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction or the National Company Law Tribunal. Okay, so these are the 4 cases. If that remuneration is paid by some other company due to any arrangement, it's a foreign company or the shareholders have allowed, it's okay. If it's a newly incorporated company for 7 years, it's okay. If it's a sick company and has already received a scheme for reconstruction, then for next 5 years, it's okay, right? And at the end, if the board itself is fixing the remuneration, then it's okay. So these are the 4 situations where your remuneration can exceed the remuneration that has been provided in Schedule 5, Part 2, Section 2, right? Now we could end the lecture over here, but I don't think we should be extending Schedule 5 a lot, right? So there are small things that we need to still cover up, right? So there are one or two very small topics, right? Very general and normal topics. So I'll just narrate it to you what happens. So the compliance is the condition for payment of excess remuneration. There are certain things, right? There is a condition that you need to comply with. So if you need to pay an excess remuneration in all these special circumstances that we have discussed, right? All this about the new company, other company, sick company, or fixed. In all these situations, the company shall comply with all the conditions which is specified under section 2 that we have discussed, right? There were certain conditions that we have discussed. Do you remember what those conditions were? Any one of you? Go back and understand those conditions. Just now in the beginning of the lecture we have discussed it. Board approval, SR, no default, and a statement, right? So those conditions are already there. Apart from those conditions, there are some more conditions that you need to satisfy, right? So until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye-bye. I'll see you guys back in the next lecture and take the section ahead, right? So see you guys in the next lecture. Thank you and bye-bye.